Mangwana ni malelepo vukenjani kwaswana ve Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashim Berry and Glenn Orashipura. How are you, Glenn?
I'm doing very well. It's good to finally be beside you again.
Welcome back.
Well, getting into what you can expect in today's broadcast. Diepsloot plagued by crime due to poverty, illegal immigrants, and poor planning, says police chief. And Kenya to scrape visas for all visitors, the president says. And South Africa opts for nuclear power as part of measures to address electricity crisis. In a little bit, we'll also be talking to Ari Hogat, who will be filling us in on the latest news in South Africa. Do stay tuned for these and more news on Africa Good Morning.
Welcome to Active Kids, a daily TV show that sparks creativity, learning, and fun for young minds. With exciting activities and lessons, Active Kids inspires curiosity and a love for learning.
New face to the 15.
The perfect mix of play and education. Don't miss out on the fun. Tune into Active Kids on NTV every weekday at 10 o'clock and let the adventure begin.
Getting into our top stories, Gauteng Police Commissioner Elias Mawala warned Diepsloot residents not to take the law into their own hands after 7 suspected criminals were killed in apparent mob justice. Revealing plans to address crime that is out of control in the township outside Johannesburg, Mawala blamed the influx of foreign nationals, poverty and drug and alcohol abuse for the spiraling figures. He says there is a prevalence of societal issues encompassing the misuse of alcohol, drugs, and involvement in gang-related activities. Mawela said that the challenges posed by permeable borders led to an influx of foreign nationals and limited prospects for economic growth within the area. He also called on South Africa's lawmakers to correct loopholes in legislation as they hampered the police work in dealing with crimes committed by foreign nationals.
Swinging over to East Africa, visitors to Kenya from across the world will no longer require a visa from January, President William Ruto said yesterday. Now, Ruto said his government had developed a digital platform to ensure all visitors would receive an electronic travel authorization in advance. Instead of needing to apply for a visa, it shall no longer be necessary for any person from any corner of the globe to carry the burden of applying for a visa to come to Kenya, he said in a speech in the capital, Nairobi, at an event to mark 60 years of independence from Britain. Naruto has long advocated for visa-free travel within the African continent. At a conference in the Republic of Congo in October, he said people from African countries would not require a visa to visit Kenya by the end of 2023. The tourism industry plays a vital role in Kenya's economy, offering beach holidays along its Indian Ocean coastline and wildlife safaris inland.
Now, Mozambique Airlines resumes on Tuesday direct flights from Maputo to Lisbon after an interruption of 12 years. The resumption of the flights is the result of a partnership between LAM and the Portuguese company Euro Atlantico. The inaugural flight, which will be carried out by a Boeing 777-200, will take place on Tuesday night from Lisbon to Maputo. The aircraft can transport 320 passengers, 30 in executive class and the remainder in economy class. In April, the government placed LAM under the management of the South African company Fly Modern Arc, which is responsible for bringing the company to profitability.
President Hakainde Hichilema has assured the nation that the government will persist in the ongoing efforts to retrieve the remaining trapped miners at Sensele open pit mine in Chingola. However, he emphasized that areas with potential risk would be assessed with utmost care to ensure the safety of rescue operations. Addressing the public during the mass burial for 9 of the Sensele mine accident victims at Chingola Town Cemetery, President Hichilema expressed his deep sorrow over the tragic incident. Not describing it as unfortunate, he pledged that the government would prioritize safety in mining operations to prevent such incidents from occurring in the future. President Hichilema stated that the government will not abandon the ongoing search to retrieve the remaining trapped miners at Sensele open pit mine. Now acknowledging the challenges and risk involved in the rescue mission, the president assured the public that every effort will be made to ensure the safety of both the rescue team and the trapped miners.
Now, a 47-year-old woman from Batesbridge, Zimbabwe, has been jailed for an effective 4 years, for trying to protect her husband who had raped and impregnated his 16-year-old daughter. The accused, who is a stepmother to the victim, who cannot be named, is said to have induced an abortion on her stepdaughter, who resultantly fell ill, leading to the discovery of the anomaly. The father, who has also been arrested and is in custody, is expected to stand trial for rape on 20 December. The woman was convicted on her plea of guilty to unlawful termination of pregnancy. Now, prosecuting Ms. Olivia Chimutinya said on December 3 the accused discovered that her 16-year-old stepdaughter was pregnant after being raped by her father. She then connived with her husband and bought some medication to terminate the pregnancy. After this, she instructed the complainant to insert the tablet and terminate the pregnancy. Truly horrific story.
Very, very disturbing.
Yes, and it's good to see us stand against those who protect perpetrators. Those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. After the break, we talk to Ari Hochad.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
All right, so the South African government is trying to build new nuclear projects in order to combat the electricity deficit in the country. Ari Hochad is here to fill us in on that story and more. Good morning, Ari. You can get straight into it.
Yes, very good morning, Ashwin and everyone. Energy is a big topic in South Africa. We know that from load shedding. Seems like there's more plans on the table, but it's expensive and it's not immediate. That is the challenge at the moment. So nuclear is one of the options, but it will only be actually coming through 2023, 2032 or 2033 that will be possible. So it's going to be expensive to get possible nuclear plants up. And there's two options. It's the large Koeberg like that you see there. That is the example in Koeberg, the only one in Africa actually. That is, then you also have an option of smaller modular reactors, which have recently been commercialized. So we'll see what the options they go into. The reality at the moment in that Koeberg is certainly you can see there's two units there. One unit down from yesterday for 2 years. That is for maintenance and upkeep. So that's bad for the ability for the South Africa to supply the energy. So we'll hopefully a new nuclear plant will add 2,500 kilowatt. A megawatt rather, so hopefully that will be a big add to South Africa. But we're also waiting for the integrated resource plan, they call it, the IRP of the president to say what all the plans are for electricity. So hopefully there will be more electricity during Christmas time and beyond in South Africa.
All right, now getting into your next story. Petro SA has since last year been looking for investors to restart Moss Gas after COVID-19. And they did now find a Russian investment partner. Can you get into this story?
Yes, the good news is that they found a partner. So it's lots of money needed. It's 4 billion South African rand needed, 2 billion for the startup, or they needed a company that can supply 4 billion, 2 billion needed to start that up. The challenge is obviously it is Gazprom Bank. It's called, it is a Russian company. So always the risk of sanctions, Western sanctions, but that's something that we've seen in different areas of South Africa lately. So we're not sure what the state of the world is at the moment, also with Russia, Ukraine, etc., etc. Reality is the Moss Gas has been down for maintenance, etc., since COVID, and it can supply 46,000 barrels a day. It's a refinery. So everybody also not sure, it's not too certain that all the supply in the ocean, all the gas fields do supply what is needed at the moment, but I'm sure that they have the people to figure that out. But the good news is that there's investment, and hopefully that the massive moss gas operation can get going again.
All right, now as the holiday season starts, the Western Cape Health Department services rather are starting to plan for an influx of trauma cases. Tell us more.
Yes, we don't really understand till we see the figures what the challenge is in festive seasons. They talk about 60,000 extra cases that's expected, trauma cases. That could be variable from things that happen in the ocean here behind me, from people going on mountains, and unfortunately, there is a risk of climbing all the mountains, that stable mountain, and so people do get in trouble. Difficult to get to those rescues, but then obviously the biggest challenge is just people celebrating, having too much to drink, and all the traumas around drinking too much and celebrating too much. So finding the balance is a problem. Those are the amazing beaches there at Clifton. So that's obviously also places where all the tourists come together. But Cape Town, they say they're ready with sea rescue, mountains, and also with emergency vehicles, etc., all in place. Unfortunately, also a statistic that was mentioned is just the people overdosing, apparently in festive seasons, up by 27%. So people must just look out and be safe in the festive season. But Cape Town's ready for the influx returning to help the people in problems.
Well, it's great that they are prepared. Now, getting into your last story, on a rather sad note, South Africans are mourning the death of the iconic musician Sahara.
Yes, it's and she music was across all cultures, and I had Sahara on my playlist, and she's got English songs and also I think Xhosa as well, of course, mostly Xhosa, but it's sad for her, very young still. Her real name is Bulewa Kutaka, and she had many great hits, and I know Loliwe was one of them that I did on the playlist, and she sang many songs with the Soweto Gospel Choir, so she had a heartfelt, husky voice, so she will be missed. Very young, she received 17 Summers and 3 Metro FM awards. Described, that is maybe the best description of her. She was described as the soundtrack of fun in every township. So it's sad to see her go, sad to see her pass away, but the music will continue to live on for all of our South Africans.
It certainly will. One of my friends was talking about when she first came out, anytime a young South African girl held a guitar and sang, they would call her, you think you're Zahara? You're little Zahara, aren't you? Truly iconic. Thank you, Ari, for bringing us the new stories from South Africa.
It's a big pleasure. Brilliant day for everyone. Bye-bye.
All right, cheers, Ari. Let's head to the weather predictions.
To another exciting episode of Hier Word Talk.
Jullie is die weer en vertel ook vir julle waar die vis julle moontlik gaan byt.
Now, earlier at COP28 in the UAE, the city of Dawa in Ethiopia, Water Supply and Sewerage Authority, and Nedamco Africa, together with its partners Microsoft, Daltez, and Hulu.ai, announced the launch of the Nedamco Catchment City Wastewater Management Project for the city of Dawa. The CCW solution by Nedamco Africa and its partners is an integrated technology platform that directly addresses the critical challenges of water losses and inefficient management prevalent in rapidly urbanizing regions like Dire Dawa. It embodies a holistic approach to water management by harnessing digital twin technology, AI/ML, and satellite imagery to deliver comprehensive monitoring of water infrastructures, detect leakages, and make climate impact predictions to provide more access to water, more water availability, as well as improved water quality. With the development of the CCW platform, Dire Dawa envisions a transformative shift in water resource stewardship, fostering a sustainable, resilient future for the inhabitants of Dire Dawa.
Moving on, still on COP28, the COP28 climate talks went into overtime on Tuesday, and countries engaged in shuttle diplomacy to seek a new draft agreement and try to close a rift over the ending the world's use of fossil fuels. Many nations criticized a draft text for a deal released on Monday for failing to call for a phase-out of oil, gas, and coal. The United Arab Emirates COP28 Director General Majid Al-Suwaidi said the text aimed to spark conversations. Now, by releasing our first draft of the text, we got parties to come to us quickly with those red lines, he told reporters. Now, negotiators from the nearly 200 countries at the Dubai summit are attempting to agree on a global plan of action to limit climate change fast enough to avert more disastrous flooding, fatal heat, and irreversible changes to the world's ecosystems.
All right, those have been our economic news stories. We're going to head over to the indicators just before Ari returns with your sport.
We are so excited to be kickstarting your morning with entertainment. Everything was happening during this past weekend.
Yes.
Exciting news.
Wow, no, she was killing it already.
In my opinion, I don't see anything wrong with him serving the full term.
As well as keeping you informed on the issues that you need to know happening in and around our country.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, starting off with soccer news first, and it's news from the Confederation of Africa Football, that is CAF, and they announced the African Footballers of the Year and also the Coaches of the Year for 2023. Good success for Nigeria. The Men's Player of the Year is Victor Osimhen, and he plays for Napoli, and he has a strong competition from Mo Salah of Egypt and from Liverpool, but it was in the end Osimhen that won the Men's Player of the Year. In the women's division, it is Isisat Oshawula. She is from Barcelona, also from Nigeria, of course, and she's the Women's Player of the Year, also a star for Nigeria in the recent World Cup, or the last two World Cups, in fact. The Women's Coach of the Year for 2023 is Desiree Ellis. That is from South Africa. She's the coach of Banyana. Great success for the South African women's team. They won the African Cup of Nations and also qualified for the last 16 in the World Cup, recent World Cup. So a great performance by the South African team. Then also it is the Men's Coach of the Year. It is good success for Morocco, and the coach is Walid Regagoa, and he was the best coach of the year because of success at the Men's World Cup, where Morocco reached the semi-finals. So those are all the winners for African football. Moving on to tennis news, the first major of the year on the tennis calendar will start on the 14th of January. That's the Australian Open. And news from the Australian Open that it will be played over 15 days, not 14 days as usual. And that is to avoid late results or games that end late or early in the mornings after midnight. News also from the tournament director is that Caroline Wozniacki, she will be a wildcard acceptance into the tournament. She's 33 years old, but the previous champion of the tournament. She retired in 2020, but back in action again, and she was allowed into the tournament. Also, the former number one, also in the women's division, is Naomi Osaka, and she was also out because of many reasons, for injury, also mental health issues, and also the birth of her first child, and she's also back in the tournament. Then Emma Raducanu, she won the US Open in 2021. She didn't play any tennis, mostly of the 2023. She didn't play any of the majors, and she was out for operations on her wrist and knee and foot. And she's now number 296 in the world, but she will also be in the tournament. She's the US Open 2021 champion. Then on the men's side of the draw, it is not good news for Nick Kyrgios. He is from Australia, and he's out because of injury. He announced that he will not be able to play in the Australian Open, and he had ongoing injuries, and he will not play in the tournament in 2024. And to conclude today's international sports news, it is golf news. It is the Alfred Dunhill tournament that was concluded at Leopards Creek. There was lots of rain on Sunday, concluded on Monday, and it is Louis Oosthuizen of South Africa that won the tournament on 18 under par, and it's a good result for Louis Oosthuizen, his first win in 5 years. He's been playing live golf for the last few years. Second position, Charles Schwartzel, also of South Africa, 16 under par, and then Christian Besaidnout on 16 under par in third position. That's international sports news for today. I hope you have a great sport day, and we'll talk international sport again tomorrow. Goodbye.
Namibians are still safe.
Everywhere else, the Supreme Court said we are not going to rely on foreign judgments.
By all means, we try to not make journalists public figures, but at the end of the day, they are.
Very good evening. My name is Taiwan Jabela, your host.
With their Protestant offsprings.
But the implementation, like she's saying, is another thing.
Welcome to What's Cooking, where culinary passion meets expert insights.
Somebody must really want to cook and want to cook good food.
Immerse yourself in the bustling world of professional kitchens as top chefs create mouth-watering dishes. Join us for in-depth interviews as our host explores the experiences and expertise of our guest chefs. Don't miss out. Tune in to What's Cooking on NTV every Friday at 2100 hours and let the culinary adventure begin.
Thank you for staying with Africa Good Morning throughout the broadcast. Let's get into some of the highlights. Commissioner calls on government departments to up the ante in Diepsloot, South Africa. Kenya to scrap visas for all visitors, the president says. LAM resumes flights to Lisbon after 12 years. And the city of Diradawa and Nedamco Africa unveil cutting-edge water management platform initiative at COP28.
And with that, we've come to the end of our broadcast. Thank you for joining us on this lovely Wednesday morning. From me, Glenn Orashipura.
And me, Ashwin Berry. Swera Jakanaka.